Up next are the brothers whose game is the rising star in VR esports.
And he takes him down! Wow! 2 versus 1 situation.
The world's finally starting to see the potential of VR, and I believe that we'll be at the forefront of pushing that out to the masses.
VAIL VR is a VR first-person shooter and social experience.
Some people call it the Halo or the CSGO of VR.
After years of development, VAIL has been upgraded to Unreal Engine 5 to take advantage of the latest next-gen technologies.
I'm so excited to be able to have gun skins, outfits, levels, homes, mini games.
We're going to be the #1 VR game in the world.
Welcome to the stage, Jonathan and Albert Ovadia.
I'm really glad you guys are able to be here today, and I know we have a lot to talk about on both the XR side, the Unreal side, and VR, and sort of the future of a lot of this technology. So I think we first want to preface, I think the video kind of give a good capture of what you guys are doing at Axel and what you're building at VAIL. But I really want to talk about one of the things you guys are working on and been one of the first transitionary teams to do, which has been having a successful launch on PC VR, and you guys had a really successful Steam VR launch, but are now moving to standalone. Maybe we get an idea of, what the thought process was behind that, what the differences you've learned along the way, and, what you're looking forward to in that sense.
Hello, everybody. I'm Albert Ovadia. I guess the question's for me because I'm the CTO of the company. I've been using Unreal Engine since 2014. From the beginning, I've been using it to make VR experiences and apps. And the journey to today's been interesting. And we've been extremely lucky, and we've had an amazing tailwind all the way here. It's just been one extremely lucky event after another. We've built an amazing team. And all of this has kind of finally merged for us, the kind of content we make, the kind of software we make, the kind of engine and frameworks we build. Standalone and PC VR finally have come together in that we have one game under one version, one combination of things that we've built that it runs on standalone or PC. So, and it's something that just a couple years ago, it was really brutal. And by the way, actually, I think it's testament to how incredible Hartman Capital is, because there were a lot of VCs that passed on us early on because we refused to do standalone, even though standalone is admittedly 20 or 30 times larger of a market than PC VR. There are other paths to success. There's also cloud streaming. There's many other things. The internet infrastructure is fantastic. There's not only one solution. It's going to depend a lot on your audience, your software, your team. A great combination of factors. So don't think that anything I'm saying is like absolute or definitive. It's just our path and what we've built. So anyway, early on, many VCs refused to invest in us because they said, hey, you're only chipping away at a tiny sliver or fraction of the market. But Hartman Capital and some other VCs, some amazing VCs as well, Hartman's in good company, of course, they said, hey, you know what? We trust you. We've spent time with you. We understand what you're doing. We took the time to understand what you're doing. We trust you. This is the path you want to take. We're right there with you. We trust you to do the best thing for your company. You obviously have every little bit in it. So what's been amazing, though, is where I thought that maybe it would take, honestly, 10 years to get to where we are today. It took maybe 5 or 6 years. And we're a lot further along on the timeline than I thought we would be, thanks to many tens of billions of dollars invested by Meta and other amazing people. That's not something I did, but it has helped us immensely. And yeah, we're at this point now where soon, for various reasons, the conversation of if it's standalone or if it's PC VR, it's going to become moot. And yeah, so that was a big thing, the feasibility. Yep. It happened. Hey, standalone hardware and the chips and the way that we interface with the hardware, it's gotten so much better that it made this possible now. So if you had asked me 2 years ago, which you did, hey, what about standalone? I said, hell no. Now it's, hell yes, we can actually do it. This is amazing. so that's where we're at today, and that's going to unlock so much because, like, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I really like hearing your perspective on that. And one thing I think you guys have done really well has been more than a lot of other VR games have been top of funnel for lead generation. Namely, you guys have been crushing it on TikTok and using that as a way to really engage the core audience and generate a few 100,000 followers from that, where you have people who are now invested into the VAIL community. I'd really like to hear you guys' opinions on that, perspectives, and what you guys did to really stand out in a rather maybe more ubiquitous industry with a lot of games coming out.
Also a lot of luck. While Albert over here was actually engineering, back in 2017 when I started playing VR games, peak concurrent for any game was maybe 10 if you were lucky. So you actually had to look on subreddits and find other people that wanted to play multiplayer VR, and you'd all have to get together and be like, hey, let's log on at this time. So we actually created a Discord, which really wasn't intended to be the VAIL Discord. It was just a space for people to come and meet up at times. And from 2017 up until, say, about 2021, when we actually had our alpha, no one even knew that, you know, we were VR game developers. So we were now sitting at 10,000 people all just looking to play VR FPS. And we were like, hey, by the way, actually it was me. I was like, hey, by the way, my brother has a really cool alpha if you want to try it. That kind of exploded. I think we're like a top 3 VR Discord now with about 60,000 people. So that background is just, I've been involved. I know what kids like. I know the 10-second clickbait titles. So our strategy was very simple. We hired a VR YouTuber. It's amazing. His name's Panda. And with him and his network, we have about a dozen YouTubers that I've been friends with before they had even 1 sub. So we have 3 pillars. We make funny, stupid humor content, which ends up going the most viral. We show features, and then we also just engage the community. So we've been super transparent because we were equity crowdfunded from the ground up. So we show all the good, the bad, the bugs, a lot of bugs to the community. And most of the people that joined VR early on, they're early tech adopters, so they love us not sugarcoating anything. Like, we'll push out live builds, and maybe Albert can talk about it, and like we'll push out a live build, nothing works, and you know, you have 1,000 kids yelling at you, nothing works, but we love it. And it's just kind of like going through the journey of developing a VR game, where if VR was already stable, no one would even touch us, but since there's not much, they would rather be on that journey, and that kind of really exploded our social growth.
Yeah, I think one thing you guys have done really well has kept the community engaged as almost part of the core team, where they're able to see real-time the updates, right? There isn't a facade going on, hey, this is what we're working on, this is the problem. And then you guys also do a lot of community response. Yeah, one thing I want you to really touch on is in the Discord, right, which has become the most common place for, you know, asymmetric conversations and asynchronous conversations. I think you guys have really innovated a lot in ways to keep an engaging player base and community outside of the headset, where people are engaged when they're in the game, but then also staying alive, becoming invested, and having the proper incentives set up to still be a part of the community. You guys mind sharing a little bit on how you're doing that?
So,
are you talking about BBB market?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
PvP, the bug
So many things, but I think Jonathan.
Yeah, the number 1 requested feature by 13-year-old kids is actually very funny. Every time we do a poll, do you want new guns, new maps, new anything? They want skins. They all want skins and progression. They all say, we love playing the game, but we really want a reason to play infinitely. What that really means is they want to get 100 XP every time they kill somebody, and they want to hit max level, which to me, I'm a little older, like that, you know, that's not really why I play games. I play for gameplay, but little kids, they want to work. They want to make it a job. So we're, I'd say, Mr. CTO, 3-4 months away from adding in-game progression and monetization?
Yeah, so investment design, or designing the game in a way that people feel like their time means something in this world that they spend so much time in. There's a lot of back-end and infrastructure work that we've built to fully realize that in a way that's very exciting, and also so that it can plug into a lot of things that are not just directly within our platform, but also from elsewhere. One of the forthcoming things, which is pretty exciting, is actually how we're plugging in Discord into our game.
Yeah, so anyone that's a CEO knows how CTO timelines work, right? So the marketing and business team, all right, software engineers get it. So instead of the marketing and business team sitting, waiting for in-game monetization progression, we're 4 months into waiting, and maybe 4 months from actually getting the feature. We said, how can we gamify the community and layer in-game monetization and progression outside of the game, right? So we're not engineers. So what we did is we actually just launched it about 2 weeks ago, super successful. We called it the Big Boy Bucks Market, and that's an inside joke for the community because one of our lead developers, his nickname is Big Boy. So what we did is so there's a few ways to collect big boy bucks in the Discord. This is all Discord bots, and we haven't seen anybody do it, and I think people are going to start copying it, and I encourage it because it's fucking cool. If you speak in the Discord, you level up. Every level that you get 50 big boy bucks. Every time you invite someone to the Discord, which is all tracked, you get 100 big boy bucks. Every time you use our pickup game bot, which is actually in the Discord, and you play, at the end of the match, 6 out of 10 people that played have to say who won, so it's all fair, and no one's abused it yet, thank God. They all get 100 points. The winning team gets 200 points. And then we created a channel where if you react to emojis, you actually unlock skins through Discord in the game. So this is all in-game progression and monetization. So monetization, this is Discord, not us, but Discord just recently, a couple weeks ago, let kids or anybody subscribe to the Discord, kind of as like a subscription service, like a Patreon knockout. So now we have 200-300 kids that are all paying $9.99 a month to get 1,200 big boy bucks. And yes, I was inspired by Fortnite. But we now have in-game monetization, out-of-game monetization and out-of-game progression all through community, where people are incentivized to talk, invite, and play with others in the Discord, which it's just like tripled our it's too early to tell, but it's already tripled our engagement in the last couple weeks. And kids are really, really stoked on this. And I think it's pretty cool. And initially we were just going to leave it in until we add the in-game stuff. But I think we're just going to have 2 paths to unlocking in-game items, because our Discord's just blowing up, and it's fun. Like, kids are just like, instead of typing out a sentence now, though, they'll type out every word as a as a thing, because they know the more they type, the more points they get. But it's been cool. So that's how non-engineers try to engineer stuff, while the real engineers make awesome features.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I really encourage anyone on Discord to go check out the VAIL Discord, and really just how immersive and expansive it has become, and really how much life there is all the time. Discussions going on 24/7, it seems. And speaking of engagement in verticals, social proof being one of the biggest ways to get people to get interested in something. One thing you guys have done really well has been engaging the rather niche VR influencer market, right? With like a lot of the top YouTubers, TikTokers, content creators around it are all either familiar with VAIL, work with VAIL in some capacity, or have made content around VAIL. What's been your framework for thinking around there, and what has been your value add to where a lot of these creators feel they want to create without it being a chore?
So I've just been in VR since forever. So like Thrill Seeker and Hey147, like the top 2, FIA, Gamertag, like all these people were just my friends. Now they're, famous YouTubers and quit all their jobs to do YouTube full time. So we did a partnership with Hey147, which actually won VR Influencer of the Year. He dropped a skin, made more money dropping a skin with us than he's ever made in his career. Told all the other YouTubers, oh my God, make a skin. It's not that easy to like make a really badass skin. So now we have skins ready to go for a couple of the other top VR content creators, but they all know we're going to be launching on Quest this year, so they are smart and said, let's wait to be on Quest so our TAM is larger. But really simple, VR content creators, they want to make money, and they want to be part of a community. They want to see themselves in game. We partner with them. We do a 50-50 rev split. Everybody's happy, and it's essentially, instead of, because they're not like the regular PC or console YouTubers. Like, you can't actually pay VR content creators to promote you unless they really like you, and then if they like you, they don't want to take your money. So this is kind of a way for them to monetize without us paying them to sponsor. They just make really cool content.
Yeah, if I may tag on to that, Jonathan's the CEO, so he's thinking about the business forces. But one of the things about VAIL VR and things like Red Pill VR is that we're very focused on culture and the creative desires of people. So for instance, you mentioned Happy147. So for anyone that doesn't know, Happy147 is one of the largest VR YouTubers, and he's an amazing personality and an amazing creative. So he worked with our creative team and team of artists to create what is essentially a bunch of outfits, a fashion line, if you will, in our game, so that it's actually the picture he was trying to show you earlier that didn't show up, but the reason why, and this is somebody who gets offered,
tens of thousands for
large numbers,
chills.
Large amounts of money to do strategic partnerships with big brands, such as, I won't name any because some of them are here. But and he always avoids those things because there's no creative gel. Like, it's just, getting paid to do something, and he can't afford to underestimate his audience and think that they're not going to see it for what it is. So creators and other IPs are very interested in what we're doing, and they're also interested in people like Red Pill VR because we can provide a platform and certain ways of helping them meet their creative desires, expanding their actual meaningful creative output to make something that's much larger, that's going to have much more connection, things that people will really actually want to play or see or do. So it's not just like an app or something that nobody wants. It's a thing. It's a cultural event. People want to go look at it. They want to play it. They want to buy it. They want to experience it. And then there's communal enjoyment in a lot of these, creative strategic partnerships that we do. Because when you see someone else that spent, $20 on this outfit from this like community of the internet that people connect with, they say, hey, that's like, there's some mutual enjoyment there. It's kind of like when you go to a club and you see someone dressed with this amazing outfit and you get some joy out of it. It's like mutual enjoyment. It's beautiful.
I was just going to say the first week that Habe dropped his first video on it, I couldn't play VAIL without every single kid having a Habe skin. And if there was one not having it, probably logged out and bought it and came back in. It was a sea of Habe.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And it's actually a beautiful thing.
It's fun.
Great stuff. Well, one more question is more of a technical one. You guys recently made the switch from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, and we'll be launching on standalone in Unreal 5. What are the implications of launching in it? I know you guys are one of the first ones to do so as well. What are the long-term implications of it, and how does that affect the end user experience?
Yeah, so for us specifically, at its core, the real impetus for moving to Unreal Engine 5, admittedly quite early, very early, was, so this is kind of nerdy, but might be interesting to some of you. So there's a standard called OpenXR, and it's basically impractical or untenable to try to do it using Unreal Engine 4. So we moved to Unreal Engine 5 to become fully OpenXR compliant. The promise of OpenXR, which every large company has joined and signed on to, is one standard. You make your app or game, you have one build essentially, and it runs on all devices, and it just works. That's the promise of OpenXR. It's not actually like that yet, but whatever. But that's the promise. You know how it is. You've got 5 standards, and then some really smart people say, hey, let's make a new standard so we can just have one standard. And then you end up with 6. So right now we got like 6 or 7 standards. But certain companies, such as Meta, they have deprecated or completely eliminated all support for all the other standards. And they said, if you're not on OpenXR, you can't ship on the official store, end of story. So they're that way, and PlayStation VR 2 and all this other stuff is that way. So he said, you know what? We have no technical debt. We can afford to do it. Let's just do it now, because if we don't do this now, we're basically going to have to suffer greatly later. And we also care very much about user-generated content. So trying to do a large shift or change like that further down the line, when you've got thousands of users who have made modifications to the game and people are playing each other's content and all that, trying to make a big change like that, we would have to break all the stuff people will have already made. So we just said, let's just future-proof ourselves. Let's lock ourselves in for the next 7 or 8 years. Let's just do the right thing. Let's do it now. It's hard. It's expensive. It's crazy. It's hard to. There is a business justification for it, but 5 months of burn, a massive team, a lot of risk. Now I'm smiling because we finished it, but yeah, it was a tough
last week.
Yeah, it was a tough decision. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. If anyone wants to hear more boring stuff about Unreal Engine 5, feel free to talk to me. But yeah, for us, it's a part of a longer vision. And Unreal Engine 5 has a lot of really cool bells and whistles and a lot of amazing things that I could tell you all about for anyone that's curious about that. So yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, I really appreciate you coming up and sharing things. I think you guys are doing a lot of innovation, both technically and socially, and building a freaking fun game. So yeah, thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you, JP.